this is the setup we're going to work with today. I'm going to make the rings here, pickup objects, which will automatically explode with a little puff of smoke and will then disappear as the player character moves over in this sort of way. So a quick play test to illustrate. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. So what we need for that is one object only from the content browser, and the rest is dragged in as references to things which are sort of standard objects. So in the starter content, in the shapes, there is a ring shape called torus. There it is. Okay, so rather than drag this into an existing blueprint structure, we can make it right click and under asset actions create blueprint using this. I'm going to give it a sensible name, and it's going to end up in the normal blueprint folder, which is under the game heading in the content browser. So it's going to be called blueprint BP ring PU for pickup. It's not going to do any of the fancy stuff like add into a inventory or increase health score or any such thing. It's going to be a sort of standalone object. Now, first thing to do is change this name of the static mesh. So we're in the component window, we're looking at the sort of visible objects that are part of this. So I'm going to change the name and let's call it ring PU. Okay, now some things to check. First of all, that it's immovable, but I think that happens almost by default. As soon as you make any kind of object as a component, it then becomes movable. And the other thing is collision. At the moment it's set to block all dynamic, so we're going to change that to we can go overlap all, or we can specify it for only character mesh or some such thing. But, overlap all is the sort of simplest thing. If it's block all, it will just mean that anything, including the player character, will just kind of bump into it and stop. It'll be an immovable object. So we want overlap all so the player can just run through it, but trigger some events as it does. Okay, so that's the setup for the torus shape. And then we need to move up to graph to do the rest. Okay, so in the graph area we can bring the first object, first expression into being by right clicking on our ring PU mesh component and do add event on component begin overlap. This again is a sort of coverall operation. That means really anything overlaps. We could add in specific tests here for a particular thing we want to identify as being the other actor in the overlap operation. But again, this is going to be something where you can build in the complexity later. So we're going to drag off a pin from here, and what we want it to do is to make a little show. Remember the little explosion? We're going to make that happen. So left click and drag, and we're searching for spawn emitter at location. Okay, now there are two things we need to set in this. What is the emitter we're spawning? An emitter is another type of object generally known as particles. Although particles are actually one of the elements that can be part of emitter. They're all lumped here under the particles, a particles folder heading. Okay, so we're going to use one of the ready-made ones, and the one to use is explosion, because the rest of them just keep on going. So you get the sparks or smoke, they'll just keep on producing all the way through once they're triggered. But the P-explosion is a nice quick result, as you saw before. So the emitter template we're going to use is the currently selected object in the content browser, which you'll notice now they're starting to shift the terminology, and you can see that it says use asset browser selection. So content browser, asset browser, it's the same thing. So there's our P-explosion, and we want that to happen first, and then after that, once that's executed, we want to destroy actor. Actually, it's destroy component, I think. So anyway, we could destroy component ring pool. Okay, the one remaining thing is we haven't really told this what the location is. So the location needs to be the location of the main component. So I'm going to drag backwards. This is effectively dragging backwards because execution generally moves from left to right. But anyway, so drag off here. Now the location element is derived from the location of the blueprint object when it's put in the scene. So it's a get actor location. The kind of unspoken thing of it is that it is the self. So this graph applies to the whole blueprint object, and its location is defined by the location of the root object, which is ring pool. Okay. Okay, so the first acid test is it good code? Does it compile? Okay, and I might as well save. And the next acid test is, of course, does it work? Okay, so I'm going to bring that out into the level. Put it somewhere here. Just raise it up a bit and give it a play. Easy does it. There we go. And of course you can have as many of those as you want in the level until of course it becomes completely laggy because of overuse or too many of them for the rest of the detail. I'm just going to show you what that blueprint looks like again. There you go. So one component, create an overlap from it, spawn an emitter, where it is, get the location of the self, and then destroy component. And that's it done. Remember, make the ring pickup overlap all on this collision. Okay, and that's it.